So what does Creators Academy believe about humanity's past, present, and future? Well, when God first made human beings, He gave us 3 jobs. He said, subdue, fill, and rule creation. We understand these roles more specifically today by the characters we make in stories. So you have the subduing warrior, the filling wizard, and the ruling will. And these are our 3 roles and our 3 responsibilities, and these are the 3 things creation wants from us. Now what about today? Well, today we're still subduing, filling, and ruling creation. However, there is one major difference. In the Garden of Eden, we lost our spiritual connection to God. We ate the forbidden fruit, we gained our own knowledge, and now we're using that corrupt human knowledge in order to subdue, fill, and rule creation. But as we can all see, that is not going very well. We're actually destroying this world through our subduing, filling, and ruling efforts. So what about eternity then? What is God's plan? Well, God's plan is to return us to the original role. We'll still be subduing, filling, and ruling creation in eternity. However, the spiritual connection will be reestablished. We will be returned to union with God, allowing us to use His knowledge again with our free will to subdue, fill, and rule creation as originally intended. So humanity originally, presently, and eternally oversees creation. That was our responsibility when He created us. We're still doing it now. And through Christ and the eternal new kingdom, we will be returned to that position of overseers of creation. So what about the fall, sin, and faith? What actually happened in the Garden of Eden? So we see there that there was some kind of death. God says, you will surely die if you eat the fruit. However, it doesn't look like they died. In fact, Adam and Eve didn't die till years later. So what happened? Well, you were not your body. Adam and Eve were not their body. So their body didn't die right away, but what about them? What about Adam and Eve specifically? Their spiritual beings, their spiritual souls. And the answer, of course, is they immediately died spiritually upon eating the fruit. They were separated from God. In the same way that eventually their soul was separated from their body, when they eat the fruit, they were immediately, instantly, spiritually dead. Because they were taken away from God, and God alone is spiritual life. So that's the problem now. We still have a body, but our soul is dead. Our spiritual nature is dead. That was the consequences of the fall. So then, what's going on now? Well, we ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So now we have our own knowledge, and we're creating sinful thoughts, emotions, and actions. Well, what are these sins full of? These thoughts, emotions, and actions. They're full of the sinful knowledge, this corrupt human knowledge that we got from that tree. That's what's corrupting your thoughts, emotions, and actions and destroying the world around you. The sin is not the thought, emotion, or action. It's what's inside of it. It's that spiritual knowledge. You think you know what is good and what is evil. And therefore, you're going to create thoughts, emotions, and actions to enforce your knowledge of good upon creation. But as you've noticed, that does not work very well, because you don't actually know what is good and what is evil. Only God truly does. So then what is faith? This faith-based relationship with Christ that restores us to the original spiritual connection to allow us to subdue, fill, and rule creation once again. What is this faith? Well, very simply, it's turning away from all your knowledge. You say, well, how do I do that? Well, if you push all your thoughts, emotions, and actions aside, if you can conceptually do that, you're left with what you know. You must discard that and look to one who you do not know. Because when you're born, you don't know God. You don't have a relationship with Him. So you turn away from everything you know, even what you don't know you know, and you look to the one who is God. And you don't know who He is. So you turn away from all of your knowledge, and you have faith that God will fill you with His knowledge. And that's delusional. It's ridiculous. But that is faith. So faith turns away from human knowledge as God ceaselessly resurrects the soul. And it is a ceaseless act. you continually turn away from all that you know and trust by faith that he will give you more of his knowledge. And the moment he gives you more of his knowledge, that is what you must then turn away from and cry out and desire for even more knowledge from him, to know who he is, all of his nature, and by doing so, you will know how to subdue, fill, and rule his world that he's created for us here. So what about heaven, hell, and the new creation? Well, heaven is very simply the place of union, spiritual union between you and God. Your body doesn't go to heaven. You, your soul, your spiritual nature, go to heaven. And when does that take place? Well, it takes place right now. By faith, your spiritual union with God is reestablished. He died so that whether we are awake or asleep, we may live together with him. So regardless of where your body is, your soul has the potential right now, by faith, to live in heaven. And that's an eternal state. It's a state that's outside of time, because you don't live in time. Your soul does not live in time. So heaven takes place right now, and it lasts for eternity, because by faith, you know you're living by God's grace in spiritual union with him right now. So if we use that as our definition of heaven, spiritual union with God, it's very clear that hell is spiritual separation from God. And that's exactly what happened in the Garden of Eden. We lost our spiritual union with God by eating from the fruit and attaining our own knowledge of good and evil. And therefore we no longer needed God, and we could be our own spiritual masters. And since then, we've been in hell. Why? Because only God is life and love and truth. And we pursue all these things now, but we pursue them because we don't have them. Now, it doesn't fully feel like we're in hell while you live in your body, because your body gives you hope that maybe you can find some love if you find the right person, or maybe you can find some nourishment if you find the right food. But you never do, because you always remain empty. Now, as soon as your body falls away, you will live in that emptiness, and you will just burn with desire for all of eternity. But don't be under the delusion that you're not in hell right now. Hell is spiritual separation from God, and we're all there right now. And once the body falls away, you will become fully conscious. You will no longer have thoughts, emotions, and actions to distract you. You won't have this world around you to distract you. You will just have infinite emptiness, and there will be no way to fill it. And you will burn as that way for all eternity. So what about the new creation? The new creation that we usually talk about as some future event has actually already come. It already exists. It's in Christ. His body is the new creation. God himself came and took a human body. Then he allowed that body to be killed, and then he resurrected that body into the new creation. Now a time will come when he returns to earth and he destroys everything, but he will leave one thing undestroyed: his body. His body is the blueprint for the new creation. It still uses all the same atoms and electrons and all the same principles, but he's made it a new creation already as his body. And that's why we now, as spiritual beings, are taken by faith into the new creation. Inside his physical body, your soul goes there by a miraculous spiritual union. We don't know how it works. It's amazing, but that's exactly what we need. Your soul needs a body. Christ came and brought a new body forth, and now takes your soul into his body. He's the new creation now. And your soul's place in him now assures that you will have a new place when he remakes the world, because he is the new creation. So the soul who presently lives in the new creation of Christ will also live in the coming age.